So we're doing some updates on our Model 92 offering. We've added 2 low beam assemblies to the Model 92 or mosaics. In the past, we only had a Winnebago version, which we did for Winnebago, which was offset. I'll show you that in a minute. But in order to use the mosaics or the Model 92s as a low beam, it requires the low beam spread and the low beam punch be assembled by us, which we've been trying to explain, and that it comes to you as an assembly. That way the 2 lamps combined make your punch and your spread for your whole low beam, but that's why the low beam assembly has to come from JW Speaker. So we've designed up a horizontal mount and a vertical mount to give you the low beam assemblies for a retrofit. It's going to be a case where somebody's going to be reconfiguring the front or reskinning a train or tram because it's not like just drop-in replacement for an existing shape. So Greg's got the vertical, this is the horizontal. Again, it brings it onto a single plane for mounting, whereas in the past we only had the Winnebago, which had an offset bracket, which required an opening on the back side. So we still have that bracket and that mounting available for the low beams. Again, the low beam has to come from JW Speaker because we have to aim the low beam spread and the low beam punch to combine into the low beam pattern itself, which is what is homologated. The additional independent lamps mount same as they have in the past. You basically attach your receivers, the mounts, onto your plate or molded part, vacuum form, fiberglass panel, whatever it might be. The baskets can be attached either with screws, rivets, whatever format you want. And then the lamps themselves have baskets on the ball studs, which is what gives you the angle adjustment to make the headlamp or forward lamps, and even for that matter, fog, aimable. But again, in the past, we only had this offset version of the low beam, which was a vertical. We still have that, but now we have the addition of both a standard horizontal or vertical mount that can go on the vehicle. Again, it has to come pre-assembled from JW Speaker because these 2 lamps are what's homologated as a low beam. One of them alone is nothing. 2 together makes the low beam. We missed anything on the voltages? It's basically all of our standard mosaics can be put in for the low beam spread and punch. We currently homologated only the right-hand traffic for Europe. We have the left-hand cutoff. We just haven't had a customer that warranted spending the money on the homologation. So it's available, we can do it. We just need a little bit of time to get that certification complete and get the paperwork updated.
Well, and to elaborate on that, so this two lamp system, there is the spread, which is a symmetrical DOT and ECE pattern, and then the punch is what gives you that right-hand traffic. And if we made a left-hand traffic, you'd change out the punch. But those part numbers don't exist for left-hand traffic. Just to be clear, that's what the system is. It can get kind of confusing. And then what you can do as well is pair any of our single functions with it. So there's fog, cornering,
Yep.
DI, and then the high beams have integrated in either DRL or front position, and they come in single voltages, so it's 12 or 24. And for the SAE, vertical and horizontal assemblies, right now they're only 12 volt. The reason why North America is pretty much all 12 volt, there are some 24 volt applications, but that's the main market. But keep in mind that you can mix and match things with, vertical, horizontal, or separate. Kind of the customer can pick how they want to panel it together on their vehicle and then put their custom fascia on the front.
Yep. But the low beam assemblies come in pairs. Always going to come from us with basically a right and a left lamp, because it takes the 2 lamps to make the patterns and why they have to come from us. All the single functions can all be mounted singly, but the low beams must come as a pair. Beyond those, we've added some additional mounts for the Model 92s. Greg's going to cover a couple other options to give us more flexibility because they do make a pretty decent pattern for like the fog, and the cornering is all that basically the low beam spread gives you that nice harmonized fog lamp pattern, which that and or the high beams, because of the compact size, can be an easy addition to another vehicle.
So the Model 92, we've made additional pedestal and pendant mount brackets, a double and a single. So we have these set up where you can either purchase parts individually or kits. I'll go over the kit first. So per ECE regulation, you can mount 2 auxiliary high beams in addition to the high beams on the vehicle, whether you mount them up on the roof, on the bumper, on the hood. They just need to be spaced out symmetrically from the center line of the vehicle. The kit will include 2 long 2.5 meter wire harnesses that are jacketed, so it gives extra protection from the elements and a better look. 2 pedestal kits, and then 2 high beam lamps. And then also in addition to that, there will be an instruction sheet that shows you how to properly hook it up so that you do not violate any ECE regulation and follow your vehicle's standard procedure for high beam. Now, if you want, you can also purchase a dual bracket for off-road purposes only, and also mount that same thing. Pedestal or pendant, you can mount it on the roof, on the bumper. This would be if you wanted to add a bunch of high beams for punch, or combined it with low beam spreads for foreground. You can kind of mix and match and do anything you want with these pedestal mounts. If you want to follow ECE regulation, you will have to check if you're mixing and matching. For example, another possibility with this single mount is adding in a direction indicator if you wanted to put those each on like an agricultural vehicle or something like that. So keep in mind, you can purchase as a kit for a legal auxiliary high beam, or purchase the brackets, wire harness, and everything separate.
In any of the Model 92s, depending on which patterns you're looking for, like Greg said, you could mix and match. You could string up 4 of the fogs and 4 high beams on a bar. You don't necessarily have to leave the bracket attached. You could potentially mount that directly to a bar with our brackets to give you a little bit tighter spacing and not have to have all that extra hardware standing up high. One of the key reasons we originally designed this whole Mosaic Model 92 was to keep it very low profile, so that when the lights are not on, they kind of disappear. So the idea with both the the panel mount style as well as all the pedestal is to keep a real low profile, not only for appearance, but also, like Greg was talking about, you put these on top of a Jeep or as a turn on an agricultural tractor, they're very likely to get knocked off with branches and stuff if they stand up too high. So a lot of different variations in the panels as well as the pedestal and pendant. And again, all of the different patterns can be installed. They just mount through from the backside.